is the Rangers Journal.
Evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Rangers Journal podcast. I'm your host, Scott Mackay, and I'm delighted to be joined by a class lineup tonight. Making his second appearance is Ryan. Ryan, how you doing, pal?
Aye, good, mate. Aye, glad to be back. Buzzing. How are you,
Good
pal?
stuff. Aye, hanging together, mate. Hanging together. Kev, how you doing, pal?
Aye, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Looking forward to my Thursday night pod. How are you doing, mate? You good?
Aye, all right, mate. All right. Mitch?
I'm all right, son. I'm better for seeing the boys' faces, no yours.
Aye, I thought that.
You know what I mean? Somebody's got to keep you in line, but in the Thursday club.
Aye, that's right. Yeah, you got it in one there. Right, I'll give you the first question then. Put up in the community post earlier on. Do we play a 10 on Sunday against Celtic?
If we sign one, aye. I'm not putting Tom Lawrence in there. It's not happening. And it's no disrespect to Tom Lawrence. The reason behind that is he's not got the mobility against a younger midfield. And he will get caught with his trousers down and lose the ball. You know, he'll lose the ball too easily there. And for what he does have in positional sense, he lacks too much mobility off the ball for me against them.
No one a flat 3, no?
No.
No?
If we have to play a 10, I'd play Diamande in the 10.
Aye.
That makes more sense for me, putting Diamande in there. And if Nico Raskin's fit enough to be part of the team, even if we get an hour out of him, my midfield 3 would be Diamande up top, Barron and Raskin.
Aye, if Raskin's fit enough. Evening, CGM. Kev, where you at on your midfield for Sunday? What you hoping for? Do you want a 10 in there, or do you want a flat 3?
I'd be comfortable with the 10, I think. My midfield 3 will be Barron, Sterling, Diamande in the 10. I think Diamande's got the legs to sit and play in the 10 role against Celtic. I think if we're going to play there, or play that with a number 10, which I can't see why we wouldn't, because it's the only shape that Clement's played since he's came in. I can't see him changing it. I think Diamande, if he plays it correctly and actually sits on top of Callum McGregor and tries to stop him playing out as much as what they do, because I think that's where the majority of Celtic's build-up play comes from. Whereas I think we've tried Cantwell in there, we've tried Lawrence in there, and both of them just haven't had the legs to try and maintain or trying to derail Callum McGregor, picking up the ball for the centre-backs as well as trying to play the attacking play. I think Diamande's got the legs and the energy to do it. I think my only concern is if Proper isn't fit. I know Clement did say he was going to be, will Sterling end up being in at centre-back. So he drops out of the midfield, so it would kind of mess that up. I don't see Raskin coming in. He's not played the game yet this season. I don't think Clement will put him in first game at Celtic Park. I could be wrong, but yeah, wait and see.
Aye, going to be the club's rehabbing injured players now. I don't think so either. Ryan, what about you with the midfield? Do you play Sterling in there, or do you drop Lawrence, or do you play Lawrence? Who's your
Lawrence,
3?
100% Lawrence on the bench for me. I don't think we can trust him at that way legs. I would like a midfield that's got legs. Do you know what? So I'd probably go Sterling, Barron, and if I had to play a 10, I'd play Diamande. In fact, I would actually go for a 10 and play Diamande against Callum McGregor, because he's his own way too often and he can dictate a game. He's a good player. We give him time and space, he's going to hurt us. I think Diamande's got it in him to give him a tough time.
That's fair. Everything's kind of... don't know, I can't get up for a game just now because I'm still waiting on Rangers to actually do something in the transfer window. Mitch, how are you feeling about Sunday? Do you remember it's the Old Firm Sunday? Are you
To be fair, I thought it was Saturday about 2 hours ago, so...
What's that?
I said I thought it was on Saturday about 2 hours ago, so that tells you where I'm at with it. But I think, in fairness, I think we were told this window we were going to have to be patient. I don't think we expected it to be white knuckle patient, but I think we were told this was going to happen, and I think when we put a sensible head on it, not to be a happy clapper for 2 minutes there, but when we put a sensible head on it with the Euros and the other big leagues not making their moves to so late in the windows, you look now like Lukaku leaving Chelsea today, for example, and you look at Chesla joining Liverpool and stuff. Even the top 5 Euro leagues are making their move really, really deep into the window. And I think that's that knock-on that knock-on impact of the Euros. And I think that's what makes it a bit more. I think that's what makes it a bit more white knuckle than it probably should be. But we are where we are at the moment, and I do think we still see probably 2 or 3 bodies in tomorrow. But the quality of those bodies will determine how I feel about Sunday come tomorrow night. I might be joining you in Aerodynamic FC.
Mate, I feel all right about Sunday, honestly. That performance last weekend's gave me a lot of hope. I thought we were absolutely outstanding, but it's important that we get proper back in, like Kev was saying, because see that interchanging with Tavernier and Sterling, that's crucial. That's very crucial to what we need to do on Sunday against them.
I think when it comes to Sunday, I think for me, it's important that we remember the levels. We were playing County last game out, and all right, we scudded them 6-0. But what we did see for the first time in a long time is the intensity stayed from start to finish, and that's what I think's been missing with some of the last few Old Firms. We need to keep that intensity from bell to bell.
Right, definitely. Right, now, a question that was put on a community post was, do you think we're going to attack Celtic face start on Sunday?
No,
Take a game to them?
I don't think so, no. I think we'll kind of set up a bit rigid like we always do. Personally, I wouldn't. I would rather get beat by having a go at them, because you sit rigid, we still concede the first 20 minutes anyway, if you play defensive or not. To answer your question, no, I don't think we will, but I definitely think that they could be got at. If you went man for man and just went for it, I definitely think we'd have a fighting chance, but I think it will be a bit more reserved than our tactics with Clement.
Kev, what about you?
I would like us to be a bit braver. I think sitting in and being rigid, like Ryan's saying, just hasn't worked for us since Clement came in. Never worked for Bale, never worked for Gio. I would just like us to set up similar to the way we did Ross County and sort of treat them with the same respect as what we did Ross County. Try and take the game to Celtic rather than us just waiting to anticipate how they're going to be against us. Because every time Celtic have come up against us last season, they take the game to Rangers, whether it's home or away. So I'd just like us to do the exact same. I'd like to sit and play with the inverted fullbacks. I'd like to play a high press against Celtic and try and just go after them. I thought that's where we look the most dangerous. I think we probably could get a lot of joy with Matondo and behind the space at the weekend if the same Matondo that played last weekend shows up on Sunday. It's obviously the $1 million question whether he will or won't, but just like Ryan said, I would like to get up and go after Celtic. I don't want to sit in. I think Celtic's at their strongest when teams do just sit back and soak in pressure, because they do probably have the quality to pick us off. So I think it's just important we try and go after them and try and impose ourselves in the game and try and spook Celtic. I think that's like the key thing. I think if we can go and pinch the early goal, which I couldn't even tell you the last time I seen us score the first goal against Celtic. So I would like to go and try and impose ourselves in the game, try and go for the win, which Clement has been saying we're going to try and go and get the 3 points. But it's just important that the players will turn up on the day and have the right mindset to go after it.
Aye, definitely, mate. We need to go and take a game to them and score first. We need to see progression on Sunday for me, for Clement's sake as well, because I think the pressure's just going to... It's like a big monkey on his back, and he's taking a shake at half and start doing something against the other best team in the country. Mitch, Ian McCutcheon's asking how many signings do you think we're going to get tomorrow?
I think between 3 and 4. And I think player 4 for me will be somebody who's solid, not sexy in terms of name. It might very well be somebody like Brandon Williams, who's the link that's not gone away all summer. I think we're probably... I would like to see a minimum 2 starters and at least 1 squad player in there, just to thicken it out a wee bit. I think we've got the bones of a very, very good team right now, but we're still just a touch light in a couple of departments. And I think we don't need a striker in, because we've still got Dessers in there on form. We've got Danilo returning back to fitness, and we've still got Igamani to come into the team there. Striking department, we're fine. I still hold a question mark on a winger. We still need a number 10 in there that's more mobile than a fridge freezer. And we're still needing somebody across the back line, I think, and not necessarily to come in as a starter, but somebody to come in and be the third man in defence, that when Proper needs a game out or when Suter needs a game out, you slot in, and it should be a seamless slot in. And I do think we probably still need a bit more experience in the team, a couple of 25, 26-year-olds that have been around the block. And I suppose probably somebody like Brandon Williams probably fits that bill, where he's coming up 25. He's got, 60, 70 games in the Premier League with between Norwich and Man United, and then he's had his season last season with Ipswich. But I think 3 or 4, I reckon we'll still see. And I think, as always, I think there's probably more deals further down the line than what we even know about just now. Because let's be honest, it's not like Copper and Co sat there on their backsides all week and just went, you know what, it'll be some laugh to do this on the last day.
Aye, I know. I have heard that Coppin's out of country, but they could put a country friend, and I'm assuming it's for. I'm assuming it's for
business.
Aye.
We hope.
Kev, what about you? Many signings do you think we'll get him, or we're on mute?
Actually, thought I'd cut that there. So I'm trying to be positive with it, to be fair. In terms of what I think we need compared to what we'll get, will probably differ. I think I probably agree with the comments. We probably do need like at least 3 towards 5, but I don't think that's going to happen in this window. Being realistic, I think tomorrow we'll see minimum 1 and maybe a push 2 to 3. But it's going to take time. I think a rebuild's not going to be solved in one window, especially with the limited funds that we've got, and it's going to take time over maybe the next 2 to 3 windows to try and rebuild the team. I think the priority was to get bodies out the door first, and I think similarly what Mitch was saying with the Euros, and that's why there was a bit of delay to getting players in. I think the biggest delay for us was getting bodies out. I think that was like the priority for us, and it's just taken so long to be able to get them out the door, and I think that's why it's came down to tomorrow. I'd like to hope there's some work being done this week, and it's not just going to be a sort of last minute appease the fan loan deal, similar to like an Aaron Ramsey or an Amad Diallo, where we pay massive wages just to get them on a straight loan for a season. But I think I'm confident at least 1, maybe 2.
You gave me PTSD here, mate, reminding me of Aaron Ramsey. Oh, God. Ryan, what about you? Many Janks coming in anymore?
I'm not overly confident by a lot. I'll probably say 2, but a very, very push, I think it'll be 3. I've got a sneaky feeling I've got a sneaky feeling he's going to dig his heels. And that might determine who's going to be bringing. So I would probably say 2 if I was going to take a guess. I would like to see at least 1 midfielder, that being a 10 or a 6, and I definitely think we need another winger. Good players, strong, preferably internationals, and that's what I was just saying about the delay about Euros and stuff. But I would like to see at least 2 come in. What I would like to see is maybe 4 or 5, but I think it'll be around about 2, 3 at a push.
Mitch, lack of rumours is kind of seems to be causing hysteria among the Rangers dads on Twitter again. Think we're going to see any, or think it's going to be business done under the table? And
I think the Rangers stars need to go outside and touch the grass for a couple of hours, to be honest with you. You know, that's me just being completely frank about it. Like, the club know what we need. We were told it was a project from the start of the season. You know, even into the back end of last season, it was a project. And we knew that this was going to take 3 to 4 windows to fix the mistakes of 3 to 4 seasons of poor recruiting, of mediocre championship players on massive wages, which, you know, that's why these players are probably going for thinner fees than what they should be. But at the same token, there's massive amounts of money getting saved on the wage bill, which can then be reinvested under the financial fair play and all the jazz that comes with that. I do think if we get 3 in tomorrow, I do think we end up having to pick 3 or 4 up in January. And it means that the January window, I don't think we're going to see anything rash, bold or stupid. But I also think, depending on what numbers look like come close of business tomorrow, I think the free agency market's still open and there's a lot of interesting names in the free agency market. The PFA down in England released they had essentially an inter free agent friendly yesterday. There was a lot of interesting names on that list, like guys like Carl Jenkinson, the Maverick that is Ravel Morrison. There's a lot, mate. I'm not saying we're signing Ravel Morrison, let's just calm ourselves there. I seen Scott ready to have a stroke. But there is a lot of uncontracted talent out there. And I think the free agency market might be something that we maybe dip into. We just need to see. I think tomorrow's tomorrow, mate. And I think rest up, get the coffee in, keep the kettle on, son.
I'm going to need it, mate. I'm going to need it for tomorrow night. It's going to be a long one. If I'm sitting here tomorrow night, as like across the board just now, it's going to be a long, long night. Me and Doug just sitting there talking about, I don't know, hobbies and that.
Speaking of Doug's, Ryan, where's yours?
Locked in the living room. It's not happening again. Lessons I learned.
That's out of order. Like, can we
Lessons
block him
learned.
from being on unless he brings the Doug?
Mitch, I'll stay with you. Paul's coming with a question. The players that have left are not needed now, but why does the board accept such low figures? Obviously, the documented fee for Scott Wright's 300 grand, Todd Cantwell apparently 650. I just want them off a wage bill.
To be fair, I think that's what it boils down to. There's sections under the whole profit and sustainability side of things. You can convert recycle. The board spoke about it before about recycling the wages as part of the next project. Those wages can be converted into transfer fees, and with us wanting the bodies out to top up the funds, it doesn't necessarily mean that the funds coming in to replace these players are coming in straight from the transfer model. They're actually potentially, you look at the money that's left with the likes of Connor Goldson, that's nearly £2 million a year in wages. Can't tell me we can't go outside there and go and grab a decent midfielder for 2 million. Guy showed us that you can. Guy showed us that you can get him for £2. You know, but being sensible for a minute, I think it is that more pragmatic approach of, we know that some of these players, if we didn't ship them out for low fees now, and I'm not going to talk about anyone in particular, but if we didn't ship them out on a low fee now, they sit there choking up a wage for the next 12, 18, 24 months of the contract. And at that point, you have to make a business decision of an acceptable loss versus an acceptable gain. And I think some players, maybe Scotty Wright, for example, he would have stayed, he would have knuckled down and he would have done what he was going to do. And it probably would have, again, led to most of us tearing their hair out. But there's other players there, the likes of Cantwell. We know that there's been rumours about his personal situation and stuff like that. You can't have a player at that point where it almost looks like we're being detrimental to a player's health as well, to say, no, you've got a contract with us, we're grabbing you by the scruff and you're playing and that's it. The days of doing that, this isn't the 1980s. You know, there's player welfare to consider as well. If something's going on behind the scene with someone like Todd Cantwell, for example, and that is a situation that needs addressed, then address it. There's a fee. We know it's a cut price fee, but we're saving 22 grand a week in wages or 24 grand a week in wages. You know, that then becomes another £1.5 million in wages. And I feel like Rain Man with all the numbers.
Aye, that's what it's all about. In terms of outgoings, I think the club's done really, really well this summer. They get rid of the obvious ones with the contracts and stuff, and then Goldson and Lammers, and then they've really went out and get rid of some of the other ones, like Wright, Cantwell, players that kind of needed to go. Kev, your namesake Kevin's come in with a question. He says, is anybody else expecting a Kilmarnock or Hearts player after tonight's games? Hearts are still nothing each. Kilmarnock are out.
Oh, I know. I think I've seen a couple of tweets about Shankland, but I just don't even think that's what we need right now, to be fair. Even if there was any truth in that rumour, I wouldn't be interested in it. I think I'm actually quite comfortable with our striking options right now. I think Dessers looks like a different player this year so far. I think he looks a much improved player compared to last season. He's obviously started very well. Just why we said that, Hearts have just went in 1-0, so they're definitely going to be out.
No, well.
In terms of either Hearts or Kilmarnock player, I don't think they'd really take us to the level that we need to be. I know you've got Watson at Kilmarnock, who listens a decent player, but I don't think he's as good as Conor Barron. I don't think he improves the squad. I think if we were going to bring in anybody between tonight or tomorrow, it needs to be someone that's going to come in and go straight into the starting 11. Not for the weekend, because I think Chris will tell you Kilmarnock will bet anyone this weekend that they sign tomorrow, but it needs to be someone that's going to be starting moving forward. And it can't be another project player. I think we've probably signed enough project players this season so far at the start of the window. I think the signings that come in tomorrow need to be someone that's going to make an improvement to that starting 11. So, Kilmarnock, Hearts, I wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't take anyone from either.
That's fair, mate. Ryan, James is asking, will any signings coming in be Scottish lads? Obviously, that could be anybody, really, if I'm being honest.
I don't think so. I think it's got signings will be foreign. I was a big advocate for bringing Shanklin in, but no. I think Dessers is kind of put that to the side a wee bit. Somebody's in the comments says he's a poor start of the season as well, but maybe he's in a forward try to push him out to Rangers, maybe knows. But right now, I agree with Kevin. I don't think we really need a Shankland or even a David Watson either right now. I don't think we can afford Lennon Miller either. So, to answer the question, no, I don't think we'll bring any Scottish lads. I think it'll be maybe 2 or 3 foreign players. I would like to see us kind of bring Scottish players in, but I think at this time it's critical to get quality in right now, rather than as you say, project players. We can worry about a bit later, but we need a bit more quality in before the transfer window shuts.
I think Shanklin's been playing at 10 all season. Just for a wee bit of context, he's been playing in a position. He's been playing behind Vargas for quite a bit. I don't know what Naismith was doing with his tactics tonight. He played 5 at the back and lumped the ball up with a 5-foot striker. Didn't make any sense, but that's not my concern.
It was a big fight to bring Shankland in, but I think right now there's
I agree.
Right now.
I completely agree. As long as Dessers
I was
keeps
saying
hitting
for
the
last
form,
January we should have signed him, but Dessers done brilliant. I think Danilo's got qualities as well to be a backup striker, and obviously we've got the boy who's signed for a couple of million as well, still not featured. So I think we've got to focus on other areas. I think it should be foreign signings.
I think when you look at it objectively, Dessers and Shankland offer very, very similar things in terms of their profile as a player. At similar age, Shankland probably should and could be looking for similar money because this is his last chance to make big money on a contract, really, unless he leaves Hearts in a free next season, which I don't see happening either. I don't see Hearts letting themselves get into that position. But I do still think we need one more Scottish player, more for the European quota, the player quota. That could be maybe actioning, I don't know. We could find ourselves actioning maybe a buyback clause in somebody like Lewis Mayo, for example, or David Watson, or I think like the rest of the boys don't really see Lennon Miller happening this summer. I think it's too tight to the deadline unless we offered them, I don't know, a couple of £1 million for Lennon Miller plus sending maybe Lowry over there. That might be the only way that something like that works, but I don't think there's enough time left in the window to make something like that work either. But I do think we probably might see one more Scottish-born player or Scottish qualified player join in terms of the Europa League squad.
Kev, that brings me to the next point. The lads done the kind of player trading model last night where they looked at various clubs like AZ Alkmaar, Braga, Dynamo Zagreb, clubs like that to see what they're doing. Now, Dynamo Zagreb was the one that stood out to me because everybody likes a Josep Gvardiol, go for big money, look at Modric, Perisic, but to name a few, who have all come through their academy. But they also pinch the best talent for the Croatian league. So should we not be looking? I'm not saying now or tomorrow, but maybe through summer, should we have been looking at? You look at Conor Barron and look at the impact he's had. Do you think that we should have been looking a wee bit closer to home?
I definitely do. I think Conor Barron's a prime example. He's probably, for me, been the best signing of the summer so far. I think I said that from my very first pod on here after the Ajax friendly, where I was saying that he was so impressive, and I think he'll probably play a lot of minutes, and that sort of came to fruition, to be fair, so far this season. I think there is definitely good bodies within there. I think Lennon Miller would be like my ideal candidate. I think potentially funds would be the problem for that one, especially if we do need a few positions in. I think I've seen rumours online that Motherwell will be looking for in the region of $3 million for Lennon Miller. I think if we had the funds available, I think he would definitely be worth it. I think he's just turned 17, just turned 18 the other day. So you've definitely got loads of opportunity to grow and then try and sell on for a bigger value. I think the only problem is, historically, Rangers seem to get overpriced fees or inflated fees to try and buy from Scottish players. The price seems to rise when try to sell it to the similar league. But looking at the league right now, I think probably Lennon Miller would be the only one that I would be like keen on to come in right now. But that's without looking into it too deeply. But I think it's not a bad idea. We used to do it way back when under Walter Smith. We'd always sign young Scottish players who know the league. I think it definitely has its place. But I think they'll just need to get the right balance between it. I think you need good young players from abroad as well as getting good young players from Scotland and moving away from that. It's been good to just have a summer no signing someone for the English Championship towards the end of the career and paying big wages. So,
aye, Kieran Dibbles in it. I know.
Aye. I think the wages side. I think if you're getting players from the Scottish League, I think you're pretty comfortable in terms of what wages we could probably pay them, because we could like triple or quadruple some of these guys' pay and still be way less than what we've been paying Cantwell, Hadji, Dowell, Lundstrom, Barisic, Goldson, and all the rest that have came along. So I don't think it's a bad idea if it's the right players that we're bringing in.
Aye,
and just a better own academy as well.
That's it. There was a comment there, Fiend, about we're going about Lennon Miller, but with Bailey Rice, who's supposed to be a better too. I know we've heard that, but I don't think it's fair to form an opinion on it because we've not seen Bailey Rice kick a ball through it in my first team. It's quite hard to try and form an opinion when you've not seen somebody play. Ryan, if there's no signings, well, there will be signings and more or less stay positive, but do you think the youth players are going to come in and be able to take up a spot in the squad? Because they're probably going to need it.
Yeah, we've got no option, I think, other than, and I think that the benches look quite bare. We have making the youth players and stuff in, but it's a long season. These boys are on the bench now, so they're going to feature. So it's just a matter of taking your opportunity when it comes. I hope their signing's going to come in, but it's a long season. There's a lot of guys in there with really bad injury record. So I think we'll see younger players get a wee chance this year. I don't think Rangers really give younger players a chance very often. Throughout the years, I would say we've not really brought a lot of good players through. So this might be a chance to do so, like your young boy Fraser and stuff like that. Viewers mentioned Bailey Rice as well. I've never seen a minute of Bailey Rice playing, so I couldn't comment on that. You could get McCaws in there as well. He's only 21. People forget he's only 21. Jimmy, he's got a lot of development to do as well. So I would like to see young players filtered in. I think managers are scared to because their job's on the line, and it's hard to bring players through at Rangers, especially when you're trying to topple Celtic. But I think this season we should be a bit more of youngsters than we normally do.
And I think when games are done, so like Ross County, for example, stop just bringing on like Dowell for the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes. Just put on one of the young boys to give them experience and exposure to the first team. Because I feel like we're just playing some of these boys like Dowell or whoever just to appease them, to say that, oh, you're just not getting minutes and we're paying your wages. Because if I've got no aspiration really to be going forward with the likes of Dowell, etc., then just give the young boys a chance. Like, how else are they going to get minutes? Granted, they might not come in and start some games. But see, when you are like games are dead and buried and you might just bring on to freshen up legs on the pitch, just put the young boys on. I think they proved in pre-season. I think they look decent enough. They're not going to gear up a 5-goal deficit in the last 10-15 minutes of a game. So go and give them exposure, because I think we might have our own Lennon Miller in the academy right now. But we won't know because we never actually seen them play. I think Bailey Rice, it's hard to compare them both because Lennon Miller's actually playing first team football, whereas Bailey Rice hasn't had a chance to do it. And we'll never know until we do it. So, yeah.
That's it. Mitch, you want to come in?
A wee bit there, like the comment about Bailey Rice and allegedly being the better of the two. That's one of the problems I think rooted within the fan base. We need to pack it in. The boy's no kicked the ball in the first team yet. We get that he's a very talented prospect, but setting him up with such high aspirational bar behind him sets him up for failure. Because what happens if he goes out there game one and he gets a bit of stage fright where he's got 20 minutes in the legs and he's maybe caught out of possession a couple of times. And don't get me wrong, we've seen it against Birmingham. He's a very vocal, big lad in there, trusts his own 2 feet. But we need, as a fan base, we also need to have a level of empathy and a bit of support for some of the youngsters as well, coming in of put no expectation on them and watch them thrive. If you put expectation on them, watch them dive. that way. So I think, I think we've also, you and I done a pod not that long ago, obviously, just last week there was, about the youth players that are currently there. I think there's some, and you look at the level domestically that we're playing at, we don't need world beaters. We don't need 25, 30 grand a week players, let's be honest, there to beat the likes of Hearts, County, St Mirren. No disrespect to those teams, but there are levels to where we're operating. Players, young boys likes Bailey Rice, likes Archie Stevens can come in there, likes of Fraser Campbell, Robbie Fraser can come in there as well. It's just, I think the biggest issue is the level of expectation we place in those young players this season. And if they come in, which there's going to be occasions that they're going to have to, but some of the young players also on our bench are a bit more seasoned than we also give them credit to. Boys like Leon King, don't get me wrong, never want to see him at a centre-back again. But when we also then look at boys like Adam Devine, this is now, season 3, maybe 4 in the Premiership. Boys like, if Lowry doesn't go anywhere tomorrow, he's now entering season 3 as a first-team adult. We're not putting players that have, we're not teaching these boys how to play football. They're no 12-year-old and we're learning them how to play. We're putting them on the park with some good, solid game time experience. Same with boys like Cole McKinnon. Cole McKinnon had a full season at Partick Thistle the season before last. Played very well there, and the times that he came in last season, maybe minus 1 or 2 shaky appearances, he played pretty well when he came in. So some of these kids are a bit more experienced than we give them credit for, and I think we've got that, almost that self-snobbery when it comes to our own homegrown players because their name's not sexy yet because they've not done anything.
100%, mate. The reason I'm going to pull up, we done a pod called Hidden Heroes a couple of weeks ago, and as is Kev's team now, I asked the guys to pick a team that was mainly a kind of, not of just youth players, but mix it up and shows a different kind of way we could go with a team. And Kev went with like Butland, Sterling, Proper and Ciala, Jeff Day, Rice and Barr in the middle part with Diamondi ahead, Cherny, Lovelace and Danilo. Now, that's a good team. It's getting you a wee bit of it's youth mixed in with experience and quality. Mitch, what do you think about that? Because we could genuinely be having to look at something like this more if we don't manage any signings in.
So, riddle me this. We put that team out against, say, Motherwell and or Dundee. Stick them against any Dundee teams. That team beats the Dundee team, your Motherwell. That team beats probably 9 out of 11 other teams in the league. And then, obviously, we've got more experienced players to come into that starting 11 as well. That team would still comfortably operate probably at a higher level than most other clubs within the league. So it's not all necessarily. I think sometimes this is where when you start a new cycle and a new rebuild, you take stock of what you've got first in the cupboards rather than go raiding everybody else's first. And I think we've got a lot of very, very talented young players, but this might be by hook or by crook. This might very well be the way that these guys get their first team experience. But that team that Kev's picked there, for me, quite comfortably beats probably 8 to 9 other teams in the league.
Aye, true. Ryan, what do you think about it?
I think there's maybe just too many young players in there. I'd probably have a few more experienced players in, but I definitely think likes Lovelace, Rice especially, should be getting a bit of game time. I don't know a lot about the centre half of side either, but it is a good mix of young and old. But I think the jersey's heavy. Do you know what I mean? And even at home, the jersey can be heavy. We're not about 1-0 up in the first half of the hour. It could get a bit much for them. I think the way to do it is filter 1 or 2 in at a time. Not really wholesale changes kind of thing. But I agree with the boys. It's just the quality's there to beat every team, but have they got the mental capacity to play that amount of youngsters at one time? I don't think so. No.
See, to play a bit of devil's advocate on that point, we can't question their mentality when they've never been put in the situation, so they're not hindered by the ghosts of yesterday. We've seen it where you see it with young players who play with that freedom of youth behind themselves, where they have that youthful bit of no fear behind them. And I think it's a wee bit like, don't get me wrong, the likelihood of seeing Kev's team play against anybody is probably fairly slender. But the likelihood of seeing variations of the young players in there, as Ryan says, 2 or 3 of them in there in a starting 11 against a Dundee, a Hibs, or somebody else. That's probably quite likely if we don't get the 5 bodies that everybody kind of fairly agrees that we need. But if we get 3, we're going to see some of these kids in here. We're going to see Robbie Fraser in there. We're going to see potentially Bailey Rice in there. We're going to potentially see Enciala slipping in there when, no doubt, one of our centre backs gets injured and the other one's suspended. He's going to have to come in. But I don't think the likelihood of seeing 5 or 6 of them in the team, giving Ryan a heart attack is quite slender. But I think, again, when you look at the team on paper, it still beats 8 to 9 teams in the league.
Aye, 100%. It was just to show what options are really in the squad. I changed it up and I put Fraser in at left back. I kept Rice. I put Cortez in at left mid. He's back in training. Hadji back in the 10. Now, we'll come away from this and we'll go on to Yanis Hadji. Kev, where are you at on Hadji? Do you want to see him stay? Do you want to see him go?
Nah, for me, it's time's up for Hadji, to be fair. I think he's coming on Instagram as a bit fly because I think he's obviously trying to get fans back on side and paint himself as the good guy. I think the timing of it just wasn't great. I think for me, what it looks like is if he's tried to go out and find another club that's going to pay him similar wages to what we would have. He's not been able to achieve that. Someone who just wants to stay with us. And I think that's my problem. I think Hadji's kind of like the typical, when a player has been injured or been suspended or whatever, people think that guy was amazing when he was playing. But I remember Hadji when he was playing, he was like also really infuriating. He lacked a lot of pace, made a lot of sloppy passes. And he definitely wasn't as effective as what his dad was making him out to be. He certainly wasn't the best player in the Invincible season. He's just not worth the money. I think, see, if Hadji was on 10 to 15k a week, then yeah, I'd be cool with him staying as long as he said the attitude was right. I think the fact that his wages, even before it goes up, is too high for me. So I think if we can move him on, then great. If we're going to be stuck with him, personally, I still just wouldn't play him. I don't think he's an upgrade to Lawrence personally. People might shut me down in the comments for that. I generally don't. I think, although Lawrence isn't the most athletic player, he's more athletic than what Hadji ever was, even before his injury. So I think for me, I don't think he gets in there. I think we've got both Lawrence and Diamondi who plays ahead of him for me. And hopefully a new number 10 tomorrow. You're on mute this time, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say you've muted yourself.
I feel Dino's rubbed off on Oyes for last Thursday, man. That's what's happened.
I know. Ryan, where you at on the whole Hadji debacle?
I would rather see him go. But obviously, the rumoured wages are talking 24 grand a week, which is crazy money for what he's contributed at Rangers. I think what Kev's saying there is right about players seem to become better when they're injured or they're out of team. People kind of really forget how inconsistent he was, and he's definitely a game changer. But he's non-existent for a lot of the game. I think he's digging his heels in. I think he'll stay after seeing that Instagram post. I think he'd done a similar thing with Michael Beale kind of before he got put out the door as well, saying he wants to play and he's available to play. And Beale kind of put him out sharpish after that. If he stays, I would be playing him though. I know that people disagree because it goes up to that extra £6 a week it's reported, but I would rather pay that than have him sitting about doing nothing. I think he could contribute somehow to the team and putting the wages aside. But I think he'll dig his heels and stay. I would rather he went, but I think he's going to hang about.
Mitch, I'm going to come to you on it now because I think it's a conversation me and you have had a couple of times now. I like him. I think he's right. The wages and that aside, right? Take a lot away. I would like to think that some common sense would come out of all this, and he's versatile. He can play across the front three. We've not got many options just now, right? We've just sold one in Scott Wright tonight. Not that I'm not sticking up for Scott Wright at all, right? But I would rather see Hadji coming in on the left than Scott Wright. You know what I mean? What's your take on Hadji? Do you keep him? Do you send him? What do you do?
if I take the anger that I feel towards him and what he's done for the second summer in a row, I'm of the opinion, get him out. That we're talking about a player here, right? That when a lot of people look at Hadji, they look through the rose-tinted glasses when it comes to him. It's the same way that we've done it with players like, Morelos. We've done it with players like Ryan Kent of, these players would do this, this, and this, and this. We're still fundamentally talking about a player who has played under 10 league games and 10 games in total for us in the last 2.5 seasons. We're not talking about peak Messi Jr. here. We're talking about Yanis Hadji here. We're talking about just a standard. There are many a player out there that does what Hadji does, who are more mobile, more affordable, and don't come with the external baggage that comes with them. There's a lot of, on a personal note, I find what he did last summer was, there's a question mark around his professionalism, is the best way I can put it. He said what he said last summer in the setting that he said it. He shouldn't have done it. Put the club in a position that we were forced to put him out on loan, because if we didn't, Mick Beale didn't get many things right, but he got that situation right. You can't stand there and let a player basically say, I'm bigger than the club and I want to be playing every single game. Mick Beale got that right to say, off you pop. It was only, his second game back after the injury, and he's banging on how he should be a starter. Sorry, son, but you've not even got yourself match fit, let alone fully fit. He then went last season to Alves, had a very mediocre loan on Alves, where he started the Euros. Yes, he ended the Euros fairly strongly, but he started the Euros on the bench for Romania. And it's not a particularly stellar Romania lineup that he was getting into either. I think for me, the baggage that comes with him, we're now second summer in a row, and Hadji, who is a player who's still not a first-team player with us, when we look at it in the practical sense, we're still looking at a player who doesn't actually technically play for us, but he's under contract with us, causing more drama yet again this summer. There is a question mark in his professionalism at that point, and I think that comes down to maybe poor advice from those around him, i.e. his dad and his agent and his ear hole every 2 minutes. But then, flip side to that, if he's still a Rangers player come Saturday morning, it costs 312 grand to pay him 6 grand a year more. We get another year in his contract. He bucks his ideas up. He gets himself a move either in January or summer next year. He parts with everybody's best wishes. I think this is the issue with him. There's too many pieces of the jigsaw, I think, for me, that don't add up to make a full picture with him. So very long-winded answer, which I apologise for.
Mitch, if he's still in the building, would you debut him?
I think at that point, I think I touched on that there. 312 grand a year extra in his wages. It's no ideal, but that pay rise comes with a new contract extension at the back end of it. You at that point, for me, you need to bite the bullet. You can't be paying somebody 24 grand a week to play with the juniors. That you can't. I think that's vulgar. I do still think if he's sincere about wanting to actually play for the club, a compromise can and should be agreed with everybody of get around the table like a bunch of adults, get a new contract put down, but we're not paying you 30 grand a week. We'll pay you 25, 26 grand a week, but we'll pay it for longer. And maybe put an agreement in place with them of, look, if certain criteria is not met, you can leave for set price X next summer. Fine. But I think there's got to be, if he's still here on Saturday, there has got to be a sensible approach to fixing it. And if he's here on Saturday, then it needs to be fixed, because I'm sorry, at that point it becomes like the fart in the room that nobody wants to own. That way. And that's, nobody wants to be the fart in the room, let's be honest.
Aye.
Ryan's flabbergasted.
And nobody wants to be the fart in the room.
Right, Ryan, I'll stay with you. Do you think Hadji would have been a better asset last season if he'd stayed instead of being sent out on loan? I mean, you look at the injury situation we had last year, we would have got a game.
Aye, probably. Aye. I don't really remember how I played any time last season. It was like Salamas, and I think Hadji's got stuff to contribute to the Rangers team. I do certainly think he's good enough to be a Rangers player, but Rangers starter every week. No, I wouldn't say he's he's that. I think he would have contributed. He comes up with big goals. He does chip in with goals and assists. His numbers are good. See, if you look at his numbers, the numbers are good despite him being very ineffective for a long period of the match. I think he could have contributed last season. I don't think I don't know if he'd have made a difference, but I think it certainly would have contributed.
That's fair. Right, Kev, last question. I'm going to come to you with it. Where does Clermont stand if this result goes badly on Sunday? Say a 3-0 loss.
He will still be here. To be fair, I think the board have made it very clear that we won't be getting shot at Clermont, and he is going to be a part of the rebuild. Granted, listen, if it does result in a 3-0 loss, which I'm sure everyone listening will be really hoping it's not that, people will be upset, people will be angry, people will critique how he set up the game. But at the end of the day, he's not had a great deal of money to try and invest in the squad yet, and it's going to take time. I think if it does lead to that, you just need to look across at Celtic and how much money they're throwing about on transfers right now. So they will be going into the game as heavy favourites, no doubt. So I don't think it will result in Clermont being sacked. There will be the odd people on Twitter that will be saying, "Oh, Clermont needs to go." I think it is important that he gets that first win against it. I think it's just so important to get that over the line, because I think the longer that goes on, the worse it will get for him. I don't think this will be the be-all and end-all. I think if it turns out to be a similar record that we had last season against Celtic this season, I think it would maybe force the board's hand, but I've got confidence that he will turn it around. And going on last week's performance, I think we're moving in the right direction. I just hope we can go and replicate that at the weekend. And like we said at the start, just take the game to Celtic. I'm confident it will be 3-0 Celtic. It's going to be a tough game. These games are funny games. I look at last season, we were massive favourites going into the first game of last season, and look what happened. Celtic ended up beating us at Ibrox. So I'm hoping something similar happens this weekend.
Aye. Right, well, I think that'll days for the night, lads, because there's a hell of a lot of content coming out tomorrow. I'll tell you that for nothing. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what you mean, son.
What's that?
You need your bed for tomorrow, don't you, son?
Also for you, Scott.
As I know, mate. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we've got Rangers news with Billy, Cammy, Bob and Derek, I think. That'll probably be a reaction to the Europa League draw, I would imagine. And then we've got the Old Firm preview at 6:30. And then at 7:30, you're joined by me and Doug to get the transfer window pod on away, and we're probably going to go to about 12 at midnight. I'm expecting us to make some signings like last minute tomorrow night. It's just a sneaky suspicion I've got. So we're going to do it and we're going to stay on as long as it takes. Kevin Thompson's coming on. I think he's coming on around 8:30. Not Another Rangers podcaster coming on as well. Our very own Stephen Wilson's coming back on. I think Ryan and Kevin's coming on as well. There's plenty of Rangers Journal boys there, put it that way. But anyway, Ryan, cheers for coming on, mate.
No, pleasure, mate.
Kevin, cheers, pal.
Thank you very much, mate.
Mitch, cheers for coming on last minute, mate. It's appreciated.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, son.
Right, so please hit a like and subscribe button. And please join us tomorrow night, because as we get these rumours, we're going to try and profile the players live on stream, and we can do a wee deep dive into them. We're going to look at the squad, where it needs strengthened, what certain players are going to bring. So say we're linked with somebody for, I don't know, Chelsea, because they've got about 1 million players anyway. We can look at what they can bring to the team, where they're going to fit in. And we'll have the squad editor live on screen as well, so you'll be able to see what the team will maybe look like with these potential signings in it. So there's plenty to come. Please join us tomorrow at 12 o'clock for Rangers news. And apart from that, every night is Rangers Journal night. Cheers.